Howdy folks, I'm Mark, I make stuff, and today we're diving into part 5 of our Swatchity Code-Along series, the author page, aka the user profile page. In case you didn't know, Swatchity is a social media site where you can only post colors. Does that sound like a stupid idea? Of course it does, because it is. You can click on that link in the upper right corner for some context, and everything will be fine. Let's take a look at the user story. Our text is nice and big so you can read it. Part 5. When a user views a swatch and clicks on the author's avatar, the author is just the user who posted the swatch, they will be redirected to the page for that author. The page will feature the user's avatar and their stats. The user's feed of swatches will appear below like any other feed page. If the user is inactive, the page will display a message to that effect. So the wording up here, like any other feed page, is a good indication that what we plan to do is take our Swatch feed component and make some updates to it to allow it to accommodate this new profile type of Swatch feed. Let's take a look at this in action in production. So we're logged in as Swatchity, so we don't want to click on our own avatar, that would be kind of boring. We're going to click on Flurbco, which is the fictional parent company of Swatchity. And here we have the author page or user profile page for Flurbco. We see the name, we see the bio, we see their username, swatches, score, and level. We also see their avatar, but you'll notice the avatar is not interactive in this mode, but is interactive here, just like any other Swatch page. One improvement we could make is to make this not interactive because it would just lead us back to the same page. Maybe we don't need this, but that's a future thing. So we see not only the stats and the header up here, but we also see the user's posts, right? Just like any other feed, we can click like on those and go our merry way. So that's really all there is to it for this page. So let's take a look at the page itself. Now we're going to find that inside of our pages directory under profile and then the ID here. You can see the ID is inside of brackets because that's going to be provided to us by Next as a parameter. We see the user's ID under profile, and then over here we can see that we bring that in under context query, and we have our ID. Just like the other feed pages, we get the server session because we want to know when the page loads who the person is if they happen to be logged in, so we can check their likes, right? Otherwise we don't know if they've liked these things. So we made some changes to get swatches DB. So we've added a new mode. So we had search, and down here we have profile. So in the profile, you can see this is very simple. We're just using Prisma to look up all of the swatches where the user ID matches the string that we provided, which is the user ID from the URL parameter. We also have get user profile DB, a very simple function. Again, we're just grabbing the user meta based on that ID, and then we're running it through this function here called get user profile from user meta. So we're establishing a difference between the user meta and the user profile. User profile is a subset of user meta that only includes the fields that we need to display here. We don't include fields like the email address, the last time they saw their alert page, the last time they saw their messages. We're not including any of that information because it's not relevant to the profile page. And we backfill with default data just in case it's not provided. We serialize our swatch dates, we get our initial likes just like before, just like with the other Swatch feed pages, and we pass that along to our component, right? Including the user profile and the user ID. We have a new optional prop for Swatch feed called user profile. Let's take a look at the changes we made in Swatch feed. So the main changes we made are related to the new profile type of feed, right? So if it's in profile mode, we display not only the title of the page from the title key, we're internationalizing here, but we also pass in the name value as a prop. And we can see here in the lang pack for our feed profile title, it includes this token for name. And we replace that with the user's name, right? The other thing we've added to our Swatch feed is the conditional display of our user profile block, which is this content here. Just like the Swatch feed component has its own mode, so we can reuse it in various contexts, the user profile block also has its own mode, because we want to use this not only for the user page, the author page, we also want to use it for our messaging function later on. That's going to be covered in a later session, but you can see we have this here. If I click on this, I can send this user a color. Right, that's our messaging feature. And yes, that's very silly that I would send someone a color as a message. Yes, that's very silly, but that's how this works. Let's take a look at the user profile block. So in this case, we're checking to see what mode it's in, right? So if it's in profile mode, we're going to display that title. If it's in messages, we're going to display a different title. So all of that is there. We have our messaging buttons. We display our internationalized labels with the values, username, swatches, score, level. But we also have this bio display, the biography. You remember from a previous session, we entered that with our little, like a custom keyboard of emojis with these colors. They're basically like letters or keys or kind of like color hieroglyphics. That's kind of what we're going for there. It's very silly. The display of your bio is very simple. As you can see, we're just going through the individual letters that are stored in the database for your bio. Your bio is stored as a series of characters. Each character represents a color, Y, G, B, P. So you can see yellow, I think green, that's blue, and then N is brown, purple, orange, I think K is black, white, and red. I think those are the colors. Anyway, this function, just like we saw before, translates those letters into JSX, into emojis that we can display here. So it's a very simple function. So that's really all that's going on behind the scenes. A very simple user story. Let's take a look at some of the tests that we changed for this story. The main one we changed was Swatch feed. We added a new test or two to cover the new feed type. We added a new one for our bio display, as well as a new test for profile block. This one has some interactivity to it, so we had some extra use cases we needed to cover. And so we're using our await, our fire events for our clicks to get those click sequences inside of React Test Library. So that's all we have for User Story 5. It's a pretty simple one. I think our next few sessions might be similar. What's up next? We're going to be looking at the thread. This is another one where we're going to be evolving existing components that we built. Let's take a look at how that works. We click through on a post. We'll be able to see that post in a little bit larger format, but it's essentially the same components, the same functionality. I can click through to that author. I can reply to this. All of that can happen. We're going to go over that next time. Hope to see you then.